So first there was some little Mashugalams who were claiming revolution, revolution based on everything. And then there were other Mashugalams that started to use information redistribution to gain things. And then there were people that were pretending to be mean to me to gain jobs. Um, and then came the people that were claiming that I speak out of turn, right? Like their elders, the elders learn more, and you're trying to move too fast. You're trying to get where you want to go too fast. You should slow down. You should listen, whatever. Here's the thing: I do listen, but I also think I have, and I verbalize my thoughts. I verbalize my thoughts so that they stick in my memory more. Um, if you know something of something, you would know that sometimes you remember things better when you say them, right? So I've had two sessions on land that have never ever been presented in this country before, right? Two sessions, um, and I created them on that day. I didn't. I created them then. Not putting my own horn here, but what I am saying is, what I am saying is, if I speak out of turn, if I'm supposed to shut up, if I'm supposed to what, you know what? You're welcome. Rebuttal. That's what it's supposed to be about. Rebuttal. The one thing that I have been having trouble with was conflict management. That is difficult. And conflict is wars, of course. Right? Conflict management. And then I realized that the best way to manage conflict, right, is not to engage governments, but people. I- Speak directly to the people. Convince the, the people. The dialogue should be with the people. The dialogue should be with the citizens. Get what the citizens are saying. Get the citizens' position. Right? Have the dialogue with them. Have the discussion with them. That's what I realized about conflict management. Conflict management is that the people are always the victim because the people are never the instigators. But in the same light, the people the people are the only ones that can actually resolve conflicts. Because here's one. When all of your soldiers decide to drop their guns, who will fight your war for you? Right? We have to understand that um, soldiers, these are now soldier states, and states that are run by primitive laws, right? It's very hard to sort of convince those people that the way that they, it's like when the missionary came, that's the way they would perceive it, right? But here's the thing: what you should offer people is the freedom of self-determination. And I'm speaking of this because hearing of kids die due to war conflicts by idiotic adults who cannot solve things using dialogue, it's very disheartening, right? Syria, the Middle East, all of that, right? And the ones that are fought are the ones with the weapons, the oppressors, and so forth. Those are the ones that are fought. But the ones that are not empowered are the normal citizens. I'll tell you a story that my father told me once. accidentally, of course. He doesn't usually talk about this stuff. What happened was in Sudan, these guys would go to the market where the people sell stuff. They would go to the market with their guns and their pangas and stuff, and then they would just take. They would just take what they need. They would just go there and disrupt the entire market and basically destroying the livelihood of these people. So you know what happened? The people started getting trained on how to defend themselves. And then they were given weapons, they were armed. And the next time that this group came, they faced retaliation by the people that are supposed to fear them. Because here's the one thing that the oppressors always use is fear and intimidation. So when these people started to fire back, when they started to fight back, these cowards ran back into the jungle and they never returned. And that community set up that security perimeter, right? The community can protect itself, it can help itself, it can thrive, but it needs unity. And this is very, very important in conflict resolution. The steps to conflict resolution is to figure out how to get people to trust each other, not only trust each other, but to work with each other. When you have that balance, and it's a difficult balance to get, right, then you have a force, a very powerful force in the people that will in turn fight back and can fight alongside you if need be. And this would be corrective action. Because the problem with people that are in conflict zones is they feel powerless. The psychological impact of wars and conflict are rarely taken into perspective. These people feel powerless. Your house is gone, you have nothing now. How can you not feel powerless? There's no food. How can you not feel powerless? But when these individuals are empowered, when they are shown their strength, they become strong. So in areas where, like in areas where women aren't allowed to drive, and there's those primitive laws or whatever, what should be done is that the women should be empowered. They don't have to be empowered directly because they are censored. The trick is how to get that those messages through past those primitive quacks who prefer women to be in veils like they are ninjas, even in the hot sun, um, marrying off 12-year-old girls and all of that stuff. These women know they are being oppressed, but they feel powerless. So what has to happen is that they have to be exposed to stories. They have to be exposed to narratives of powerful women. Because a man can raise his fist against a woman and beat her, right? But a woman can also stand up and leave. Now, what happens when a collective decide enough is enough? Like what happened in Nigeria, when the women decided that they were going to vote, irrespective of the intimidation. So, conflict management is looked at from an empathetic point of view, while it should be looked at from a humanitarian point of view, right? The gun should be a symbol, but it should not be a weapon. Firstly, the power of the gun has to be neutralized in these sort of areas. When the power of the gun is neutralized, when the power of the gun is neutralized, and the power of compassion and empathy, love comes to the front, sacrifice comes to the front, amazing things happen. And I know this might seem like I am a dreamer, yada yada yada, but look at Gandhi's story. Gandhi did face guns. He did. There were people who were his followers who got killed. But it is very hard, very, very hard to destroy a symbol. So instilling hope in these people, saying it doesn't have to be like this. That symbol that will fit the narrative of those people is the hurdle that I am trying to sort of figure out at the moment. Because attacking the religion per se won't work, right? Or giving the friends that I have the ideas of these religions like that. No, I'm past that. It doesn't work. The ladies, the women also believe in these religions. So the book, the book should then in turn be interpreted positively. It should be used against the violent perpetrators. That loud voice and that mechanism is what isn't being used. Understand? Instead of saying Islam is bad, look at what Islam has done, yada yada yada, let's say these people are violating the principles of Islam. Villainize them for the villains that they are. And this is how transformation happens. This is how the mindsets begin to start shifting. And the weapon, the greatest weapon is, of course, education. Education is information. And that information being used in a positive light will have a great impact. We already hear of stories, of stories that just end because there isn't a continuation of them. And it's time we start to care. It's time we start to think about problems within our borders and problems outside of our borders. Because at some point in the future, we are all going to be a collective on this planet. We are going to be a collective. And people are already having, some American has a child with a Namibian, some, that's already happening. Alright? So the vision for the future is the vision for all. And the problems of the present in areas that we can say, no, that does not affect us, so we shouldn't think about solutions and how to solve that. That is completely wrong because it will bite us in the future. So this is my session one on um, the Middle East crisis, because I don't really know a lot about it. and I am going to research a bit more about it, um, as well as I'm going to study the characters of these so-called leaders. I'm going to study their ideologies, why they became where they were, the environments that they had. I'm totally going to see who they are, what they are, and then come up with um, suggestions and opinions on how they can be neutralized. Because I think taking them out of the picture, that extreme, that extreme will only lead to retribution. The best way I feel right now is to swallow the pain and just neutralize these entities. So that's where I'm going to put my time into now for a little while. Because yeah, I mean, the negative things that I get from some of the opinions that I make, um, the fact that my name was slandered, and getting a job for me would be, and I'm talking about like a fixed job as opposed to the investment and the entrepreneurial stuff would be, they're making things really hard for me, because I'm being labeled a troublemaker. So I'm going to focus now on the outside, um, until I get permission to speak on internal affairs or internal national affairs of Namibia if it's needed. I mean, if I'm not needed, then why waste my time? And right now, I don't think I'm needed. So,